March is all about self-love. Join in for this series which focus on women sharing their journey to self-love and activities they do to continue to cultivate and grow in their journey. In this episode, we will be talking with Dr. Diandra Renee Esquire. She enjoys self-development, helping women execute their dreams, and is purpose-driven, leaving no gifts or talents on the table while living life. This episode is for all women and girls' self love journey. Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where we are everything her, helping to elevate and redefine our sister friend tribes. I am your girl, Tamekia, host of Happy Hour Conversation. So if you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are doing a series called the Self Love Series. So be sure to follow Happy Hour Conversations at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Today, I have an amazing gift for you all. We have my Sands. My Sands, which for those who don't know what Sands is, she is my line sister. She is dynamic. She is 2 times TED speaker, cultural engagement strategist, and the dream navigator. Diandra. Diandra Renee Esquire. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are doing this series called the Self Love Series, right? And the series is really to start normalizing self love and to share experiences and stories between different groups of women, right? And so we can just start normalizing self love and giving other people permission to tell their story and share their story, right? And so I put a call out for different people to come on and share their stories. And you responded to being single, right? Because one of the calls was being single. And so I want to make sure our preference when I say single, single was never married, no children. And you said yes. So, can you tell the audience who you are, give us a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into your love story, self love
All
story.
right. Okay. Well, hello, beautiful people. I am Dr. Diandra Renee, ESQ, um, affectionately known as the Dream Navigator. I am excited to be here with my Sands. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Um, Thanks for having me. So, yeah, I mean, you gave a little intro. I'm a TEDx speaker, cultural engagement strategist. So I do a lot of work in the education space, formerly known as DEI. No, I do a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work, a lot of leadership development for multiple aspects of people. So I work with youth. I have a nonprofit organization, and we do work with youth. We work with adults. I have a educational consulting company, and so we do a lot of leadership development, coaching, and then I also have the Dream Big Crew, which is a crew of women, Christian based, and we do coaching, and I help people navigate their dreams, bring their dreams to reality. So I help them be the dream so that they can do the dream, so they can see their dreams in reality. So
You
that's
are
me.
busy, busy, busy,
God
busy.
is good. I'm trying to make good use of the time that the Lord gave me here on this earth.
Listen, I know that's right, and use all your gifts. I know that
I'm
is
trying.
right. Well, don't say try because you're doing it. You know, it's power in words.
That's what people say. Don't say try, you're doing it. But I'm like, yeah, if you only knew what else I'm probably supposed to be doing, then you know why I say try.
That's right. You're
But
gonna
yeah,
keep on pushing, saying.
you're right.
And so you are single, right? And
Yes,
no
ma'am.
children. And we live, we learn, and we lean into this notion that someone else is supposed to make us happy, right?
Mm,
And we know that's a lie. And we also have challenges as we are both single with no children, right? Women that are in this this category, I would say, typically have challenges with dealing with not having children because there's always noise and questions about why don't you have children? Why haven't you had kids yet? But the flip side to that is, as a woman that hasn't bear children, we have our own challenges within, right? Meaning the experience of the challenge to womanhood. And so, which we know that's a lot. Um, the truth is, being single, not married, and authentically being able just to be in your own space is truly a gift, and it gives you the opportunity to learn about yourself. So tell us your story to the self-love journey.
Ooh. Um, so I would like to say, I when people ask me like if I have kids, and I say I haven't birthed children, but I am a mother to many. And so I have like 10 god kids. So there's that. And then I also probably always have somebody's child with me. So not as much recently because I've been working more, but even even in the work, I am a trusted auntie, friend, mother, extended mother, family member, maternal figure to many. And so that is always something that I cherish, to be able to be a safe space for people to grow and develop. And I think that is as the feminine part, that is what mothering is. So I haven't birthed any children but of my own yet, but I still mother, even in mentoring and all of that. And so super grateful for that. I would say for me, self-love starts is a big part. It starts with identity. So who do you say that you are, or how you define yourself? And I don't just define myself based off of who I'm married to, or if I have reproduced children within my own body or within my own vessel. My identity really does come from the Lord, but also if I'm moving and acting in the purpose in which I feel like I'm called to, and I do believe I am doing that. And so that's a lot of what my identity is related to. In my journey of figuring that out and self-love, one of the major questions that I ask myself is, when I wake up every day, when I look myself in the mirror, am I happy? Am I proud of what I see reflecting back to me? And so part of that comes with, hearing what everybody else is saying about you, but also it comes with like, are you okay with what you said? Are you okay with how you're showing up? And so that was one of the questions that really shifted my understanding, my vision for love, and then love of self. And I think also my relationship with God and how it has journeyed and transitioned, and allowing what the word of God says to be true, and that being the truth that I function, move, and live by, that being something that I really do believe. And so that being the basis of how I define the rest of my world. And so those are two major shifts that allowed me to really um be more confident in who I am and how I show up, and knowing that I am a unique vessel. And I really believe that I am a vessel, meaning that God is expressing his purpose, his love through me. And so being able to navigate that and know that I'm not for everybody, but I do have a purpose. That's why God gave me this breath every day and every moment. And so being intentional about living a life that's fruitful and purposeful is, I think, the base and grounding um, of my identity and moving in that self love aspect.
That was powerful. Let's go back to, you said when you look in the mirror, what's the question that you ask yourself?
Am I happy with what I see reflecting back to me?
That is powerful within itself. When did you start doing when did you start doing that, or where did you learn that concept from, looking in the mirror and asking that question?
So in my 20s, I did a lot of self-development work. I'm in my mid 30s now. So in my 20s, mid 20s, I did a lot of personal and self-development. I love personal and self development. So reading listening to the Iyanlas and the TD Jakes and the Miles Monroe and all of that, and just figuring out what's the common denominator, like what are people saying about growth. And then also I've always grown up, I was always that child around adults, and so I always had something to say, and they didn't always want to hear me. And so being able to understand what value I brought to the world was important for me, and being able to drown out the noise of everybody else around me and their opinions um, became imperative. So it's like, how can I figure out how I can keep my peace? Because I don't believe that the Lord called me to a place to really have to feel this way. Like, some, because people didn't always say nice things, because people didn't always like what I said. A lot of what I said wasn't truth. It wasn't necessarily it wasn't malicious. It didn't have ill intent, but the Bible talks about how the truth, the world wouldn't recognize truth. The world doesn't want truth. And so when you give that to certain people, they don't value it the same way. And so figuring out what value you have in the world, and then where that value is supposed to come from in terms of how you talk to yourself, is important. So figuring out, like, if anybody else is going to talk nice to me, like, I have to talk nice to me. Am I do I like what I see in the mirror? So hearing everything that people are saying, but what is your intent when you say these things? And so really figuring out how to recenter and I don't want to say renegotiate, but really figure out what voice and how you're supposed to value others and then yourself. And so I just started asking myself that question, because it also allowed me to shift and change, because I realized, as like, when you show up in a certain way, people have that expectation of how you show up. And then, but if you want to change, sometimes you feel like you still have to meet that person's expectation or those people's expectations, and you really don't. If you wake up tomorrow and you decide that you want to be the sweetest, nicest, kind-hearted person that you want to be, then you have that decision to make, and that you can do that. You have that right. And so for me, it was in this personal and self-development journey, it's like, this has to be about me, and it has about be about me and God. And so giving myself permission to evolve and to grow and to change and really be that person, that when I look in a mirror, that's who I want to see. Like, I'm proud, I'm integral, like, I'm honest. Like, these are the values that I cherish personally when I want to be in relationship with someone else, but then also I have to be able to be giving that as well. And so that question allowed me to give myself permission to grow and journey.
So I absolutely love that, because a lot of times when we look in the mirror, we typically, like, I think we are our own critics, right? And we typically do a lot of self sabotaging with our words. And so when we look in the mirror, we see all of the negative, all of, and I don't even know if I want to use the word bad, but we see all the things
Very
that
critical.
that's critical, right? Versus seeing the beauty, and like you said, kind of showing up in what it is that you want to show up as. And so, giving an example of that, I can remember being in the gym and I was walking out of the gym, right? And I was like, oh, I look a mess. But then I had to sit there, because for me, as I am teaching younger people and other people that surround me how to be better with their words, it was a moment of reflection for me to be better with the word choice that I used in that very moment, and said, no, girl, you look like you leaving the gym. That's what you look like. You know what I mean? And in that moment, that was powerful. And so let's talk about, and I guess honestly, it's really just, so I'm trying to figure out, how do we get women there? How do we get women to, when they look in the mirror, that they start embracing who they love, who they see in that mirror, and be better in correcting at word choices when they see that individual in the mirror?
It's a practice. I think you have to decide that that's what you're going to do. But then I think some people have a challenge really valuing themselves. And so, really understanding that you are a unique expression of the Most High God, and that every part of you is how the Lord created you. And now, if there are if there are some parts of you that you want to change, you also have that ability to do that too. Like you said, you was at the gym. I go to the gym too because I would prefer not to have this gut that I have and have more of a butt. However, sometimes it ain't always set up like that. So then I gotta work to make that happen. And so but just also knowing how much power you have, not only in your words and your voice, but in your thoughts and then what you decide to do. And so though you may not like exactly how everything is put together, but part of it is because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. But if you really were started to look in the mirror and say, oh wow, I didn't realize my eyes were shaped like that, or oh wow, with my smile I notice I have a little dimple on one side than the other, or just looking in the mirror and telling yourself you're beautiful every day. Sometimes we expect that to be from somebody else, and it's like, no, it's if you reflect that to yourself, and then other people will begin to say the same thing. So like for me, I really saw it was very weird. I remember reflecting in one part of my journey. I just kept hearing, as I continued to decide to love myself. um I just kept hearing, like, when I would go places, people like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, or you're so beautiful. Like, oh wow. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. And then, but I think it was a relationship or it was a confirmation of God and recognizing that I valued something that He created in His image. And so, and sometimes when I say that, because I'm a woman, I'm like, He created me in His image, but it's three. I'm like, yeah, I'm still God is not always a He sometimes, but He created me in His image, and to know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, but then also believe that. Like, what does that actually mean to for someone to craft me, to hand make me, and to put all of my gifts and skills and talents and how I see things and how I hear things and how I say things, to actually craft them together in such a unique way that there's only one of me that will ever walk this earth. And on top of that, I'm purposed. Before I met my mother, before my father, before he formed me in my mother's womb, I was really put here with a purpose, with intention, with handcraft, with uniqueness, so that I can be, like I said, a one and only, a unique expression of literally the Most High God, the most powerful being that there is. I am a reflection of that, the one that is, I am that I am. I'm that. And so, being able to embody that and to believe that, and then to tell yourself that, so that you can internalize it. So then, when other things come your way to tell you that you're not, and to kind of confuse you and throw you off, because I really do believe it's a tactic of the enemy, so that you're not fulfilling your God given purpose. No. Like, yeah, God probably has a partner for you, but then if God has a partner for you, it's probably the you that He created in His image, not the broken you, not the you that doesn't want to be who you are. That's not going to work for the plan and the purpose that God has for your life. And so, really understanding that I have to be who God called me to be, and figuring out who that is, and journeying to be okay with the inquisitiveness, to be okay with the iterations of me, to be okay with the flaws that I have. I'm perfectly made in God's image, but if I compare myself to somebody else, I may not be as perfect. But who decides what perfect is? And so, really just having those thoughts and understanding and journeying. And so, I don't know if I answered your question, but there we go.
You did.
Okay,
And
great.
you did, but I want to circle back because there's always different versions of us, right? Especially
Mhm.
as we're growing up. I'm in the big 40 club. You in the big
Okay.
30 club, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you said something interesting, and it was the broken pieces of you, because when women hear this, I would like to get in a space of normalizing that it's okay to be single, right?
Mhm.
It is okay to be single and start learning who you are, because those are the pieces, especially when you say like the broken pieces, because at some point in life, and I just believe this, we all have broken pieces. or bit pieces or whatever, right? To what we have to work towards to fix, adjust, and do whatever it is to continue to work the master plan and the creativeness, I guess I should say, that God has created in us, right? And so speaking to the women in our younger generation, I just want to say that it's important to work on yourself and not be in a relationship. Like it's totally okay not to be in a relationship, especially when you are learning who you are. And so it was interesting because you just said like the broken version of you. You don't want that. You don't want that in a mate. You know what I mean? You want the highest, most the best version, I guess I should say, the whole version of you when you are looking for a mate. Because otherwise, all you doing is having a mate and y'all both are figuring stuff out. And there's not anything wrong with it. Just, it's just more work. Um, so that was interesting that you said that. Let's go
And
back to go ahead.
okay. No, I was just gonna say when you said the broken pieces, I don't want people to think that broken um means like a lacking, or it can be a distorted view of who you are. When I say broken, meaning the non-healed part of you, the non-optimized part of you, because you are not healed. You're looking through a lens that's not complete, that's not whole. And so the picture of like, now I have an iPhone, and I have an iPhone case, and I took it off to charge my phone because I got a new charger, the little flat thing just sitting on there. So I took it off, and I cannot find my case. However, iPhones are very, very sensitive. And so I'm like, I don't want to drop my iPhone. I don't want to crack it or break it. And so the picture came to me of like when somebody does drop their iPhone and you crack the lens, and then you try to take a picture. And so you try to see through that lens, but the perception is changed because of the crack. You're not actually seeing, it's not giving you a version of what's actually happening because you have to see it through a broken lens. And so being a person operating through this earth and working with people, or even trying to find a partner, a purpose mate in someone else, you're looking through that broken lens if you're not healed enough, if you don't get it fixed. And it's hard to find someone that can operate with you or be your best self in your purpose if you're looking through a broken lens. It's just a distorted view. And so being intentional about healing yourself and being transparent, there's some healing that you do have to do in a relationship with someone else, because you're becoming one. It's like a mirror. And so but being intentional and finding a purpose partner, and then also being intentional with what you understand as a mate. I'm not a person, I just don't want anybody also. Like I'm not gonna be with somebody just to be with somebody. I'm going to be with someone that elevates my purpose, that allows me to be all who God called me to be, who challenges me to be all who God called me to be. And so I think that's another part of it as well. Some people settle for just somebody because they don't want to be alone, and that's not what I mean. I mean, you can have anybody if you want them, but that's um not what I would desire, and not what I mean when we're talking about being broken versus whole and finding someone to partner with.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So even when we're talking about being broken, because I think you hit on it, where we're talking about, healing from trauma, whether it be childhood trauma, and there's some adult trauma too. Um, when we are talking about just the perception of how you see yourself, especially if you grew up with a lot of self negative talk over you, because again, words are powerful. And so you start internalizing those things and you start believing those things about yourself. And then over time, just things happen. And um, sometimes you just don't, like you said, you don't like what you see in the mirror. And so it really starts with like looking in the mirror and accepting who you are, what you see, and loving yourself. and dealing with whatever it is that you need to deal with. Um, so when we talking about the broken pieces, let's talk. Let's number like give five. We already said trauma. What are some other things when you say broken?
Well, I think, and it could be all wrapped up in trauma. Trauma is really just an event that dysregulates you, and you don't have the proper tools um, to re-regulate yourself or to understand it. And so there are different forms of trauma, traumatic events or activities. And so someone calling you fat when you were younger can be traumatic. To some people it might not be traumatic. They may not care that much. It just depends on how they're built. It could be a, being assaulted. It can go from, abuse. There are different forms of trauma, but when you're not able to, and the word is escaping me right now, but when you're not able to actually understand process, when you're not able to understand and process what happened, and then it prevents you from doing other activities. And so like that spirit or seed of fear sits in, or it shapes how you go about the world or see the world or show up in certain spaces. That is what I mean by the broken self. If you're not showing up as your full, whole, best, authentic self, then that's the a broken part of you, figuring out how to heal that part so that you can literally be that expression of God in the form of how He created you to be.
I agree. Um, we getting ready to close here shortly. What are some tips that being single, like being single and not having children? Because as you said earlier, you are a mother to many, right? And I am a mother to many as well. I've helped raise my younger sisters and god kids and other people's kids and so forth, right?
All right.
But some people may not necessarily have that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips that you would say to someone who's single? This is a two-part question. Someone who is single, and then someone who has also not bared children, as it relates to them separate, not totally identifying their womanhood with bearing children.
Fall in love with yourself. I would say that. And then acceptance has been one of the greatest tools that I think has allowed me to continue to go, has allowed me to keep my joy, accepting things as they are, accepting the truth. Sometimes we have a hard time accepting what's actually happening. And so we spend all this time trying to make it not happen or not be true. And it's like, you can't change that part. So accept the truth and then make a decision afterwards as to moving closer to what you desire. And then um, I would say that your womanhood is not defined by you bearing children. That's a societal norm. I don't know if we have male or female when we get to heaven anyway. In terms, it's more about you fulfilling your purpose, and being the highest, most greatest, best expression of yourself. And so I think I got that from Oprah. And so if you think about what mothering is or what birthing is, it's not just that physical process in your body. I also believe you can birth a dream, you can birth a nation, you can birth an organization. It's really that process of having something in seed form, developing it, and allowing it to manifest into livelihood. And so like I birth organizations. I used to joke because I have a PhD and a JD, which means I was in school for a long time. And so I used to say I'm birthing degrees right now, especially then that was a lot of the talk. They like, oh, when you gonna have kids? I'm like, I'm gonna have this degree first. I birthed this degree and then, we can figure that out when it comes. but really just understanding, who you are and what it means to operate in your own power, in your own, feminine connection. And then I also believe that if that is really your desire, then making sure that you are operating as your best self so that you can be in alignment with whoever God called you to be, and that you can bring that what you into your world, because it's possible. So yeah, I think those are my tips.
I totally agree because as women, we can birth anything, right?
And
So
we
I totally
do.
and we do. And it's really about changing the mindset of what birthing looks like and having that conversation. So I'm glad you pointed that out because we do it every day. We do it every day. What are some things that make you happy?
Food. Good food. I'm a foodie, so good food. Um um Truth, authenticity, development. I love to see people discover themselves or another part of themselves. I really love that. Allowing people or helping guide people to being who they are called to be. I absolutely love that, whether it be youth or adults or coaching or in an organization or empowering others, brings me joy. Um, Seeing myself smile. Um, I really have I feel like the joy of the Lord is my strength in real life. I really wake up joyful, a peace that surpasses all understanding. I love to dance. I love to laugh. Sometimes I love to cook, but I really do like to eat. Um, I dance. I sing. You know, expression.
So those are all the things that make you happy. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. Tell the people where they can find you, and you have some events coming up as well. Will you share it with the audience?
Sure. So I have a nonprofit organization. I lead a nonprofit organization called More Inc. It stands for Motivate Others to Reach Excellence. And we have a youth-led youth program called Inspire More, EMSPIRE. And we are doing a youth-led youth conference. This is actually our third annual youth-led youth conference. And so we work with the youth on a weekly basis to develop this conference. So it's for youth by youth. So they are doing the workshops, they're hosting the day, serving, cleaning up, decorating. They're doing all of the things. And so that is on April 5th at Groveport Madison High School. So you can go to More Moves, MORMOVES.org, and register your high school student. It's free for high schoolers. We feed them all day. But it's fun. We have a DJ. We really do have a good time, and it really is student led. If you're an adult and you like to work with youth, please volunteer. We have career conversations. So if you can't, volunteer for a couple hours, and you can spend about an hour, we have lunch set up for the youth, and you can sit at a table and they can ask you questions about your journey. Moremoves.org, you can go there as well. More Inc. Moves on Instagram, MORINCMOVES. And then you can find me, Dr. Diandra Renee, on Instagram. And that is probably the best place to find me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I would say join the Dream Big crew, but we'll be relaunching soon, which is the coaching program for Christian women. If you have a dream and it's just been brewing inside, and you need a community and some help to make sure that happens, that personal development piece and that support to bring it to fruition. Because just like you talked about, self love, sometimes we don't have people around us who are allowing us to dream big. And so creating a community to do that, because people say the sky is the limit, but we've been to the moon. So, we can do more.
So is that on your page as well? On your Instagram page?
You can join my mailing list, Diandra Renee, if you go to diandrarenee.com. I do have a whole website, huh? If you go if you go to Diandra, DIANDRARENEE.com, you can join the mailing list. And so make sure you're aware of what's happening. And then I'll for sure drop something on Instagram. And then what else? I got Driven While Black. I'll be coming out with that season 2 for that podcast coming soon. You can go to drivenwhileblack.com or follow us on Instagram, Driven While Black. And then you can visit YouTube for some of our past episodes. We have a podcast called The Bar Room. So the behind the scenes journey of success for Black lawyers. So yeah, that might be some of the things. I don't remember.
Just some of the things. Well, we'll make sure, excuse me, we'll make sure everything is dropped in the description. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to share or say?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm one of those ask me questions and I'll answer them, but I can say I want to encourage everybody to dream big. And dream for me is an acronym, stands for designing reality exponentially and magnificently. Like I said, they say the sky's the limit, but we've been to the moon. And your voice is necessary, your expression is necessary, that dream that you have is necessary. So please um, take a step towards it. So if you need my help, you can contact me. But at the end of the day, take one step towards your dreams.
Yes, and you all have it from Dr. Diandra Renee. Thank you so much for coming on. Excuse me, and saying yes to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. We are getting ready to close. So, again, if you are ever looking for me, you all can find me at YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. We'll make sure Diana's information is dropped in the description, and we'll talk soon. Bye.